Every day, millions of people ask, what is Scientology? Here's an idea. What if you just take a look?
See for yourself.
What if you see for yourself
No one else can see.
who we are,
No one else
what we believe,
see for yourself.
and what we stand for? Our doors are open
See for yourself.
to all people of all faiths in every corner of the world.
Just look inside. You will know it when you see with your own eyes.
So what is Scientology?
See for yourself.
Maybe it's time to look and decide for yourself.
Good evening, everybody. I do apologize if there's an echo. We're kind of we're working on a new setup. It's not working out perfectly, but it should be fairly light. I'm gonna move myself right here because I feel comfortable in this corner better. Good evening and welcome to my very special guests. Of course, my lovely wife Andrea, the Never In, of who I am the lucky husband to, and of course, the Ontario guest, Gabriel of Escaping the Cultiverse. Welcome, my friends.
And anyone who's Canadian and has heard the Ontario provincial anthem will know what we're talking about.
Do you want to sing it, Gabe?
Andrea. That must have been Andrea, you sneaky girl. Well done.
This is awesome. This is gonna be a fun chat, fairly casual. We're gonna break down my video, my visiting the Seattle org and the shenanigans that I like to get up to because it's just so much fun, showing how I'm gonna say inept the Church of Scientology staff and organization tends to be. I mean, the fact that I was let into Seattle and not known about is just phenomenal. So. Cool. Let's say hi to a few people in the chat before we get started and we can let more people come in. Sound good?
Yep.
Cool. So we got very early on in the chat, we got One Love 51,000 making a comment. This is going to be epic. Absolutely. I love epic things. Pam Abernethy, thank you for joining us again. And we do have Raz in here. He's just on the floor. Oh, you can kind of see him in the background there in Andrea's. He's probably chewing on a bone, and I should apologize for any crunching sounds that may come out there. We got Apostate Alex. Hey, buddy. Long time no see. We got Lauren in the chat. We got Karen from Seattle.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some definite interest there in my visit. We got Janet, who this is the first time in the chat. So welcome. For people who are used to my chats, please feel free to throw some questions or comments in the box there, and at the end of the chat or during, if it's relevant to what we're talking about, we'll take them up. Teresa, hello from South Carolina, I assume. We got Poodlebone from New York City.
It's on
Violet.
wish list to go to.
Hey, who's got the new haircut that Lauren is referring to? Is that you, Gabe?
No.
Okay. Well, whatever.
My natural.
Who else we got? Necessary Trouble, which is a great name.
Ooh.
And Sharon Serendipity, the stupid Ontario song.
I'm so sorry, Sharon. It's an earworm for me too, so we're in this together.
We're in this together, yeah. I'm a BC boy, although I was born in Ontario, so.
And I'm a BC girl.
Who's now, unfortunately, stuck in Ontario. I do apologize for that.
Actually comes to mind that I think I've spent more time in Ontario than either of you have. Because I was there for 5 years.
Oh, wow. Oh, cool. Minnesota.
Yeah, we got some Minnesota and New Zealand, which I think is great. That's amazing. Not too many viewers are from New Zealand for myself, so this is great. All right, guys. So for anyone who hasn't seen the video, although many people have already, I did something silly and I walked into the Seattle org and pretended to be a new public to see how they'd react. Now I wasn't secretly recording, because my GoPro was literally on the outside of my backpack and very visible to anybody. So it wasn't like sneaky at all. And I just think it's hilarious that it still went through. So today we're going to break down a couple points. And Gabe, I did ask you to set something up. Did you want to start out with kind of what you wanted to talk about with what you wanted to bring up, or?
Oh, in the video?
Yeah.
Oh, there's so much.
Thoughts on it? I know there's so much.
There is so much. I think the biggest thing that stood out for me is all the talking. All the talking that they do, which is, there's so much policy against doing that with somebody who is actually new. I mean, whatever, right? But like when I worked in Div 6, which I did, that was actually the first area of the organization I worked in. It's like a cardinal sin to sit there and jibber jabber to any new public. The whole purpose is to, like, you get them on some sort of introductory course or introductory service. So introductory services, like all those panels, those are all considered an introductory service, or a personality test is an introductory service, or a film is an introductory service. And after that, you sell them a book, or you sell them a service. And that's it. That's where it's all how it's all supposed to happen. Talking about all the things, the nonsense he was talking about. Like,
we're going to get over that. We're going to go over that.
I was shocked. But that to me was the biggest thing. And that he didn't even try to sell. I mean, he hardly tried to sell you a book.
Yeah, it was what we would call soft sell.
Very soft sell. And that's a huge no.
I think the interesting thing, and Andrea, I'm going to ask your opinion on this in a sec. So from someone who like worked in an org, in a class 5 org, which is what Seattle is, it's not a Sea Org. I could see right through everything he was doing, right? Mm-hmm. Now, Andrea, as someone who has never been like sold Scientology, how would you have responded, do you think, to how the first guy specifically, how he was reacting to my question, like, what is Scientology? He didn't even answer it.
So I think I would have been confused by the non-answers. Mm-hmm. I would have been put off by the amount of conspiracy theory, but I have other thoughts about why that happens that I think we'll talk about a little bit later. And then when he actually got to doing the Decem drill, so trying to find your rune, I would have had to ask him to rephrase the question, because he said it in auditing talk.
Right.
And so if you wanted to sell me on this, you would have had to come in somewhere in between. You would have had to do more than tell me to walk around and watch things myself. You would have lost me pretty quick on that. So if you'd followed policy, there's no way I would have stayed. But using the auditing terms made no sense to me. Say the phrase for me.
The help one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So basically he asked me to think of a time where I failed to help somebody. Yeah. And we're going to go over this. This is called the dissemination drill, but carry on.
So he needed to come somewhere in the middle. If he's going to start to work towards my rune, he needs to be less Scientologist about it. So I'm wondering if there was a time that you wanted to help somebody, but you didn't, or you couldn't. But he doesn't know that sentence doesn't make sense to me. The one he used.
And that's a really good point.
Yeah. He would, if I were like somebody, how would you say, in qualifying it or sort of critiquing him as a Scientologist, I would be sending him to what's called cramming for correction. He flunked out so bad on that drill. And I was never good at that drill. I hated that drill, but he was horrible. He was unnatural. And that's the kind of stuff that you actually do drill. Anyways, and he's a registrar.
Yeah. So this guy, and he's the Div 2 registrar though. So, and I
Right.
think that's a really important thing that let's just bring that up now.
Okay.
Because so when I walked in, the guy, I won't name any names because I do want to, invoke some privacy for these guys. But the initial person who was at reception, I later learned is the second in command, which means he's the deputy executive director. So he's like one of the main people who are, his basic job is to make sure everyone's producing. And by producing, I mean, bringing in money and delivering service. Like those are the two main things that this person deals with.
Yeah.
So the fact that he was on reception tells me a lot.
Yeah.
It tells me they have no Div 6 personnel. They have no what are called HCO expediters, which are people who are newly on staff who basically do the gopher work. They don't have a specific post. They just help out. And they'll help out where it's needed here and there. So they have no new staff. And Div 6, keep in mind too, that they have no staff there. There's 3 divisions in Div 6. There's public contact, there's public servicing, and what's the third one, Gabe?
Public contact. Oh, God.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking about servicing. I must have misunderstood a word.
Books.
Can I point out that it's great that you can't remember this?
I know, right? This is
How wonderful
I
is
was
it that
I
this
was
person
never
has-
in Div 6.
I was.
Alex, if you're in the chat still, throw in the chat. What's the third division?
I thought
Anyway,
it was books.
Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
There's 3. It's such a big overarching division that it's broken up into 3 sections
It's
with
huge.
one person manning, kind of like one executive should be running it. No, that's not what I meant, Alex. It's not treasury.
No.
No, the third public division. So contact, servicing, and something else. Sorry, yeah, 6B. I guess the course room. There you go.
Yes.
Regardless, it
Okay.
doesn't matter. So there should be a bunch of people in this division. At the very least, there should be an executive either outside of all of them or each division head, right? So the fact that there was nobody is phenomenal. And then so they brought in the main guy I talked to at first, who is the director of registration. And it's funny how he kind of like jokingly says, I hold many jobs here, but my job is the director of registration. So that means that he just does everything.
Yeah.
Right. Which just means that they're failing. Like they don't have the staff, but they're an ideal org. Right. I like the confirmation of this because you hear all these stories about how bad things are going for Scientology and how these ideal orgs aren't actually fully manned up and not working well. And it's very clear, 2 orgs that I've been to, it's true, right? So where was I going with this? The dissemination drill. So Andrea, you were saying about the auditing command. There's many ways that you can word it. There's no specific way, but what you're supposed to do is find out how someone has failed to help you. And help in Scientology is considered like the lowest common denominator. This is something that anybody can agree with, and anybody can have what they call a ruin with, right? And that's what he was doing with me. There was a point, Andrea, that you wanted to bring up regarding that conversation with him. Did you want to sort of set that up with the asking about my dad and stuff?
Sure. I won't set it up totally because I want people to just absorb what the conversation was. But for people who don't know going into this conversation, Jeff's dad is still a Scientologist. Jeff's dad has disconnected from him in the last 2 months because of the videos that he is making on YouTube, despite not having seen them. And so therefore, because of Scientology, there is no contact between Jeff's dad and him by Jeff's dad choosing. And I think that may let you see this conversation if you didn't know that story in an entirely different light and know why I was both ready to cry, bang my head against the window of the bus, and want to shout, The answer is Scientology.
Yeah. So this is 19 minutes into my visit here. I'm gonna add this. If you guys should be able to hear this. If you can, please let me know. If you can't, please let me know. But this is going to be our conversation regarding when he starts to audit me or try and find my ruin.
Well, let me ask you a question. In your life, who have you failed to help?
Who have I failed to help? Well, my dad, I guess. I haven't. Him and I have had a rocky relationship. He's recently been diagnosed with lung cancer, and he doesn't believe in. He believes in holistic medicine only, not standard traditional medicine.
So he's not going to go get radiation or whatever.
Yeah, I think he did. Him and I aren't really talking very much, but yeah, he was refusing to, and I feel like I could have done more to assist that because, I mean, it's not late stage, but like fairly onset cancer, and that's kind of the only thing that's really gonna kill the cells is radiation. So yeah, I mean, he doesn't pass away from it, but I feel like if one, I just want to make a comment on this because as I'm listening to this, I'm remembering being there, and this guy he's pretending to care, right? But there's no like, oh my God, that's terrible. Or like, there's no real emotion connected with it, right? And I'm just really noticing that when I'm listening to him, he's just acknowledging me.
Yeah.
Right? Which is all you're supposed to do in auditing. There's no emotion, right?
He's doing the drill. He's just doing the drill without any emotion, or he's not being real. And I mean, even when I was learning how to do it and drilling it, it's like that was one of the biggest things. You have to make it real to the person, otherwise you're just a big phony.
Yeah, very flat affect.
Very flat affect, yeah.
But also, so for context, trained, like you're supposed to turn it on for the DSM drill, but you're supposed to stay where you're supposed to be on the tone scale at other times in your life. Like that's a hard flip to do.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's carry on and see what else he says about this. Push a little bit more and convince someone that's more helpful, I guess.
Right. Okay. And you guys have a history of issues in your relationship?
You could say that. I mean, I'm a redhead. I'm fairly stubborn, and it's just kind of personality. I get it from my mom for sure. Yeah.
I've never heard that before.
You haven't heard that?
No,
you haven't known very many redheads.
No, I haven't. You're right.
Yeah. That word. It's probably not actually true, but there's a bit of a stubbornness about us for whatever reason.
And how has that problem with your dad affected you? How has that?
I kind of like to think that it hasn't, but it would be good to have that relationship. It's really difficult for me here while I'm talking to him to not say, well, it's your guys' fault that this is the case. Like, I didn't, I'm thinking in my head, well, I'm not talking to him because he disconnected from me because of Scientology, right? Just as a little bit of added commentary, in case you guys are wondering where I'm at.
That would be really hard. That would be really hard. And it is a huge invasion of privacy. And in the real world, that kind of stuff is not cool.
No, like you're never going to go up to someone and just ask this.
Yeah. Like, how would you feel if somebody got into your personal business like that? You've never even met them.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like,
not involving him, so I guess it kind of affects you a little bit. But it's just like it's another person that you're not talking to, which there's billions of people I don't talk to. So that's the way I kind of look at it.
Yeah, with this difference that he was a close family member.
This is true, but you can pick your friends, but not your family. So.
Yeah. Okay. How young were you when it started to manifest that you guys weren't communicating?
So what he's doing here is he's auditing me essentially, but he is trying to find like the initial point where their relationship started to fall apart. So he's trying to like go what's called earlier similar in Scientology. So he's trying to find that point that the charge or the ruin is like held by, in a very basic term. As a teenager, I was definitely not the best kid. I definitely did some things that I wasn't proud of. Got in some trouble, as most kids do. Yeah, in the 20s, late teens, 20s kind of thing. That's been kind of like an on and off relationship since then.
Okay. And so before that, you guys got along fine?
Fairly, yeah. As any kids and their parents do. There's always something, right?
Yeah. So. Yeah. Okay. Now, that particular situation, you wanting to help your dad, but feeling like haven't been able to adequately.
Yeah, I mean, he just refuses. So.
Yeah. If there were tools you could learn to help handle that, would you be interested in doing that?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Just for his sake. I mean, it's his like life, and all that. All right. So at this point, he tries to sell me a book. Very soft sell. Completely fails at it. But let's break up this comment here. Suppressive Squirrel, great name by the way. Is he a good auditor? We have no frame reference. So this isn't technically auditing, so I couldn't say yes or no. But he is good at listening and just acknowledging and just carrying on without bringing anything up. Like that's one thing he doesn't do is bring anything up, really, right? So yes, sort of. I don't feel like he really got my ruin. What do you think, Gabe?
No.
This is what we would call soft sell.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think about that, Andrea? That whole interaction as someone who is like spilling their guts out kind of thing. Like, how do you feel about his responses and all that as a never in?
Yeah, my never in perspective needs him to resonate more with me. I need empathy. And I'll flash up if I can one of the comments. Ricky White or Jenna, that you would have answered that you failed to help your daughter-in-law who were very close to who unalived themselves. And I'm so sorry to hear that. I'm gonna guess you'd get as much empathy as Jeff did in this. You'd get an okay.
Yeah.
And then the next question. And I don't want to say that it wouldn't work on anybody. I think if he took a different track, I think the finding the rune works as a strategy. He just wasn't very good at it.
Exactly.
Right. So I don't want to belittle the experience of anyone who's gone through this, who's then joined Scientology or pursued courses, because I know there are people who are better at this than this dude. And so we run the risk of judging anyone who launched themselves into Scientology by going into an org if we think that everyone's experience was like this. That there are certainly reasons that people step through the door and then continue walking into the org and stay there.
Yeah. I mean, people do have issues in life, and what they're trying to do is offer a solution by they're basically like coffee shop psychobabble, psychoanalyzing you, and they just get you to a point where you feel you're desperate and they have an answer. So therefore you go with them. This guy here, Solo Dove. Yes, this is the guy who's been in for 50 years, and not just in Scientology, but on post, which means on staff for 50 years. And that's one of the, Scientologies that I slipped out while I was talking. I said, "Oh, you've been on post?" Like, oh, that's the wrong term.
I didn't even notice.
I know there was a few like moments where I'm like, oh, I gotta watch what I say.
But it speaks to how deeply in they are that they didn't know this either, because it would have just been normal vocabulary for them.
Yeah.
Like if you asked, what did that handle for you? How long have you been on post? It wouldn't stand out because they're so entrenched that they don't know that other people don't use these words or
Yeah.
use them in that way.
And Alex says this so perfectly. Crying is buying. We used to say, if we can get you to cry, you're buying the book. And it's true.
Yep.
That's what we would focus on. Not even just cry, but just like, not literally all the time, but sometimes definitely. Like if you're doing a personality test and you go and get your results and someone is like digging into your life and you have a genuine like issue that is like ruining your life and they push that button,
Yeah.
of course you're going to cry.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and then they come in and they swoop up. It's like,
That's what, yeah.
I'm reminded of like movies where they're like, the guy takes advantage of the girl who's like at an emotional low and they're just like, you know, he's like, oh, here's my in. This person's emotionally vulnerable and therefore is my chance. It's predatory, right?
I'll make a quick comment.
Yeah.
The thing that I saw, he was very robotic in doing the drill. I mean,
Mhm.
I've done the drill before, and you really have to care about the person. That's what you're taught. And I mean, it's Scientology. Do they really care? I don't know. But the policy, but the technique is, if you're following it properly or doing it properly, you are supposed to care about that individual and you're supposed to understand. And that's how I would do it. And it can be very, very effective. And when you're finding somebody's ruin, you're finding something that is ruining that person's life. You're like, yeah, they're very upset about it. It's causing them issues in their life. It's like an alcoholism. It's like an abusive relationship. It's that kind of stuff that you're supposed to get. So in all honesty, he really didn't find a ruin.
Yeah.
Your ruin, Jeff.
Yeah. So they would have found like a surface kind of thing where it's not truly the thing that's ruining my life. And
Yeah.
that's why that's not why it didn't work. Cause I knew what he was doing.
Right.
And this is the point that I wanted to bring up too. Like and this is the reason why I want to show this stuff, because if people see exactly what they're doing, it's very easy to spot. But when you don't know what you're looking for, like it can be, someone might genuinely think that this guy's trying to help them when all he's trying to do is con money out of them. Like he tried to sell me a book for a booklet for $5.51 and then, or $5.51. And then shortly after gave me a free booklet, Way to Happiness, which I guarantee costs the same amount to produce.
Yeah.
So why didn't they just give me the booklet? Right. Churches give Bibles away all the time. How much does it cost to make a Bible? Probably more than this little booklet.
This just another point. It flows for me when I start to think about this stuff. It's scary.
Flow away.
This is a cult we're talking about. These are cult techniques to get people to recruit people into the fold. And when these methods or techniques are done effectively, you can actually see how people would fall for it. If you're being genuine and you're caring, you can do it. You can actually suck somebody in. So it's just something that really dawned on me. Anyways, that's my 2 bits. It's a cult.
Well, you're right. You're right.
Combine the ruin finding with the love bombing, which he didn't throw in there.
No.
And there are a lot of people looking for something in their life.
Yeah.
And so you come across someone who seems caring and compassionate, and now they've unearthed something raw for you. And then they've got that compassion there. It's going to feel like it's worth a shot at least. If you don't jump in with both feet, you might just feel like you're going to test the water. And then the steps from there are really good at pulling you deeper and deeper into the deep end.
Yeah. And I'll expand upon that too. Like if someone has an issue that it's ruining their life, they obviously don't have a solution. they've probably looked, right, to a certain degree. And then someone is saying that they have the solution to your problem, and it's like a very minimal investment. It's very easy to just like buy that book or have that conversation or do that little course. And then all of a sudden you're invested, and it just builds and builds and builds, and you end up with thousands of dollars trying to solve this problem that never actually gets solved, right? So it is, like One Love 51,000 said, there is, you just never say never, right? At the right moment in time, anyone could, well, he says would, but could join, would join, maybe not, but could for sure. And that's why it is scary. And that's why I want to expose this stuff, right? Like I've released one video already where I have, I think it's like 30 hours plus of drills that this guy is putting on for current Scientologists to convince people to join Scientology. I don't think I can release it all in one lump video where it's like there's no context to it, because it just wouldn't be interesting. But it just breaks down every single step from, ask like the initial contact to, and not even necessarily in Scientology, but contact anywhere, in a coffee shop or in the library. You just happen to run across someone and you start up a conversation. And the guy even says in these videos where you build up to the point where the guy, the prospect, I'll call them, the non-Scientologist who you're trying to get in, trusts you, and you become a friend, right? And then anything you say after that, then they'll start listening to. But you have to get into that mindset where that person is trusting of you before you can start laying in all these this drill. So it's fascinating. And I wish I could package it in a way that it makes sense. It's just so much work. So much work. I've already spent 30 hours on this, just watching these videos. It's insane. Right. So, and on that note, if you guys want to support the shenanigans I get into, I do have a way to do that. You guys can buy me a coffee or PayPal or whatever. I honestly spend so much time behind the scenes doing stuff to try and expose things. I mean, I drove down to Portland and Seattle and for this specific reason, just to try and expose stuff. And I feel like I'm doing a fairly decent job. So if you guys want to support me, please do. Yeah, we got a lot of comments. We got a lot of people in the chat here. This is great.
Yay.
Yeah, and if you guys have questions, throw them in the chat. Just try and bold it, say question or comment, and that'll make it easy to find in the chat. What's that, Andrea? I
have a couple of questions and comments that I'd like to try to pull up in a certain order. So bear with me for a second. Mm-hmm. Oh, I've lost the one. There was one that was kind of an answer to this from Alex, but I wanted to get here. Yeah. And I wanted to speak to it from my never-in perspective. So Alex has said that one of the hardest things in the healing journey is coming to terms with the pain and trauma caused by doing something like this to people every single day and exploiting vulnerable people and being ashamed by that. And I wish there was some easy way for all of you to box that all up and not even ship it off, like burn it. Because we have to acknowledge at the root of all this that you believed you were saving the world for now and forever. And it's one of the reasons why we have to be anti-Scientology, but not anti-Scientologist. Exactly. Because the majority of people on the ground have bought into a very noble cause and bought in. So you're no longer acting with your mind of exploitation. Nothing is conscious in this other than the noble cause that you're fulfilling. So if there's anything that the Never-In community can do for people who are in Scientology, let us hopefully help take some of that away. You were doing what you believed was good work, beyond good, like phenomenal work that needed to be done. And you were given the tools by people you trusted to make that happen. So you were exploited and you were vulnerable.
Yeah, no, and that's really well put. It is true. Like we're told constantly that we are the only hope for this sector of the universe, for the future, the endless millennia of suffering and the downward spiral of the universe. Like it's really hard to put into
Thanks,
words.
Andrea.
Like
You're making me
exactly.
cry.
Yeah, exactly. It's really hard to describe the intensity and the urgency that is put onto your shoulders, on every Scientologist's shoulders. And it's unfortunate that it's still happening, right? But it is, and that's why I feel this urge to stop it as much as I can. I'm a small channel. I'm a small fry. I'm in Canada. I'm not in PAC or anything like that down in LA, but I feel like I can do some difference. So that's my goal.
Mhm.
And I would like to share that Lorna thinks that it was very well said, Andrea. Absolutely. All right. Cool. Should we move on to the next part of the video I wanted to bring up? Because this one is full of lies. So very full of lies.
Can't wait.
Oh man. All right. So
Mhm.
this is going to be, so the original guy, let me set up a little bit. The original guy was done talking to me. I think he got kind of done with it, and he realized that he was messing up what David Miscavage wanted him to do, which was just plunk me in front of a screen and have it explain everything for me, because he spent all this, David Miscavige spent all this money on a media production company, and he made all these videos. So why wouldn't we use them, right? So I just finished watching the Dianetics video, and this is the guy who was originally at reception, and he was wearing a jacket, which I didn't notice he was wearing at first, because he put it on afterwards, and it had the IS logo on the chest. And of course, any longtime viewers of my channel, and if you're new, I actually flew to the UK and joined Alex and a bunch of other amazing people in a protest against Scientology outside their first major event in years, since the pandemic hit. And it was the largest protest against Scientology, I think, since like the Anonymous movement. Like it's been a long time. And so I knew what went down in the IS events, and I just wanted to get him to maybe admit that he saw something outside the gates, but he didn't. Instead, he spouted off a bunch of lies about what the IS does, and that's what we're going to bring up here. I'm going to stop it so we can make some commentary on what he was talking about. Hopefully, you guys can hear this okay.
How was that?
Yeah, it's good.
I'm going to give you a little roadmap here.
Oh, sure.
So, you are right here in Dianetics.
Let's make sure.
Yeah, that's. I went to an annual convention we have every year of all Scientologists.
Oh,
This
where
was
was
done
that?
in St. Hill, England.
You went to England.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
At this point, I'm just like, oh my God, this is amazing. I was really excited. It was really like when people say in the comments that I kept my cool and this is all this stuff. This was the hardest point for me, not just be like, were there protesters outside? Because I heard there was protesters outside, but I did not. I kept my cool. Interesting.
We have 11,000 churches all over the world.
We have 11,000 churches. Okay. Not true. Not true. Not true. Not true.
You need a buzzer.
Yeah, wrong. So no, there is not 11,000 churches in Scientology. Far from it, actually. I mean, if you consider that every single church, quote unquote church, has 2 churches in it, so a day shift and a night shift foundation, I think there might be about like 1,500, maybe not even that, probably. But what they're talking about with the 11,000, the statistic that is thrown out to Scientologists to show how they're flourishing and expanding, that includes all churches, missions, groups, which includes like field auditing groups, stuff like that, things that public do to help get people in kind of on their own. But that also includes ABLE groups, which is the applied scholastics type stuff, like the schooling, L. Ron Hubbard Study Tech, and includes the WISE groups, which is the management companies. It includes CCHR, it includes the Truth About Drugs, every single little individual front group. That's all of them across the entire world. How many groups or churches and stuff do you figure like Christianity has, or Sikh, or any like genuine religion has? Way more for sure, right? Am I wrong?
I don't know.
I don't think I'm wrong.
Yeah.
But anyway, the point being, that's not an accurate statement. It is a fabrication. And I think even if you consider all the groups, that's probably exaggerated.
Very much, I'm sure.
Yeah. All right, here we go. How many people went to that event?
There were 8,000 people.
Okay. Didn't make it very far. So first of all, as Alex has already put into the comment here, I don't see it. But anyway, the maximum capacity for the event
7,000.
for their license, there we go, was 7,000. There was not 7,000 people at that event, which we know because we were there. We saw every single person come in and out. We didn't count them, but definitely was not 8,000. And that's just a ridiculous lie. Flunk. All right, let's continue. 1,000 people.
Right.
Wow. What was the big, like, why would you go so far?
So this is called the International Association of Scientologists.
Yeah.
And it's the organization of all Scientologists who their mission is to support and defend the Scientology religion.
Oh, okay.
And to keep churches going.
Against the pharmaceutical industry.
Against whoever.
Mark was saying.
But yeah.
Okay. So the reason I said that, I was kind of laying a jab in there at him about the conspiracy theory that the other gentleman told me about, how the pharmaceutical company and Scientology have had this like butting heads relationship and how evil they are. He went off into this whole conspiracy theory, but it was funny. It was just my way of kind of like throwing a jab at him, because that's the way I roll.
Yeah. Whoever would suppress the freedom of man.
Like Scientology, but carry on. Okay.
Oh,
This is what we do.
Yeah.
So we get together, and the IAS does many things. They also support 4 of our humanitarian campaigns, which is Drug Free World, Citizens Commission on Human Rights, and the Applied Scholastics and the Way to Happiness Foundation.
Mm-hmm.
And then probably my favorite, which is the Volunteer Ministers.
And here we go.
oh.
We're gonna go over some stuff here as he's saying stuff, but I did a very small amount of research, and I'm just gonna show some lies.
Before
Rainy
you
Day
launch into
Jane,
that, yeah.
do you think he truly believes what he's saying? Yes, I do believe so. The way cults work is you're cut off from exterior information, and the propaganda is sent into you from the people who want you to believe these things. In this case, David Miscavage and etc. Right? So yes, this is what he believes because this is what he's been told. And why would he believe any different? Like he's being told this by trustworthy people.
I'll just make a quick point too.
Mhm.
It's not just what you are told. It's what you you program yourself to believe that. And it's reinforced with things like these events and other propaganda. I mean, I remember being in the Oregon. I mean, you'd see these events and you'd see a Miscavige blathering on about stuff. And I mean, there was always something in the back of my mind going, really? But there's this cognitive dissonance, right? You just kind of go, oh, okay, let's just carry on and do your job. but all the while you are programming yourself to believe this stuff. And there's external, but there's a lot of internal programming that goes on, which is what is that Lawrence Wright wrote the book. It's Scientology, the Prison of Belief.
Yeah.
Right. Anyways, that's
Yeah.
just the point I wanted to make on that too.
No, and you're absolutely right. Like it is, and it's self-policing and all kinds of things, right? There's a lot of tactics that are being used to keep someone from looking out.
Yeah, and
because
who's the
once
product?
you look out, you find out the truth, right? But you're told that anything that's out there is not true.
Yeah.
So it's just
Like
like,
I wouldn't even type in Scientology when I was on the internet.
yeah,
Like literally, I would not type that in because of the N theta that you would see. Like there are
Yeah.
people that won't even watch TV, read or listen to any news. And there's one like Shelley, what's her nuts? Oh God, I forgot her name now. The senior CS. She wouldn't even go on the internet. Like that's how isolated people and siloed that they become when they're in Scientology.
yeah.
And then it's
Well,
even
any cult
worse.
really, but
Yeah, and it's even worse in the Sea Org.
Can you explain a little bit more? Because you mentioned because of the N theta. What's the worry for us non-Scientology folks? Why not go on the internet?
Now I'm gonna go into my mind of when I was a Scientologist, and
just make sure that you have a rope so you can pull yourself back out.
it was a fear. I mean, I knew stuff inside because of the position I was in, right? So I knew that if I saw any OT information or that kind of stuff, that it would be very dangerous. It would be very bad for me. It would cause problems. You would have to go to ethics. You'd blow up. It was just like it's implanted in your brain. You just don't do it.
Well, and that's the piece that I don't think people understand. So I think someone had said within Christianity, you're told not to look up anything anti-Christian, but not in my experience. Not because you're going to get sick, get pneumonia, and die.
Yeah.
Right.
No, to be fair, that's the OT levels.
If
That's
you
the OT
trot into
level.
the OT, but maybe you start with anti-Scientology and maybe you end up at the OT levels.
Exactly.
Or
It's the gateway.
the clear cognition.
Yeah.
So you get what I'm saying, right? Like, see, the other aspect of it is if you're getting into the internet and then you go into the org and you're usually, somehow sec checked or somehow you're always on a meter. They find you have something you're hiding. It comes out you've been on the internet. Then you go to ethics. Then you have to get punished. Blah 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 blah. In some cases, people then have to pay to get sec checked. It's like it starts a whole process of horribleness that nobody wants to do. So it's just safer to not look.
Yeah, it's too much trouble to look.
It's a pain in the ass.
Yeah, and if you are caught looking at stuff online, bad stuff, N theta as they call it, then you can actually get made to install a program on your personal computers, phones, and so forth that blocks. It's like a net nanny that will block certain terms and searches to control you. This happened this actually happened secretly. Way back when they were making websites for people, their personalized websites, they would have a program on the disk that would surreptitiously install this on people's computers, which was found out about. So, yeah, it's just
actually, as an aside, because we noticed that the Scientologist in Seattle was pretty quick to try to install the Scientology TV app on your phone.
Yeah.
Was
that was
what he
the
trying to
website.
do?
That was the
Okay.
website trying to do it. Yeah. Which
Okay, so the
who
website
knows?
tries to
Who
get you
knows
pretty
what
quickly.
else that app does?
If
Right.
anyone in the chat can or knows of somebody who could find out some way if downloading that could report back anything else to Scientology, we would
like a
love to
backdoor
know if there's anything malicious about downloading and installing that app.
I'd be surprised if there wasn't some sort of permissions you're giving it once you install it, that it sends back either location, contact information of some sort back to Scientology. I'd be really surprised if it didn't. So if anybody knows how to do that kind of stuff, let me know, or just download it and check it out for yourself, because I bet you there's something in there. And yeah, Cyanocytier, yeah, Sitter, yeah. Anyway, it was a program that kept an eye on you. So anyway, that was a tangent. Yeah, for sure. All right, let's try carrying on here.
We are a first responder force. It's probably the largest on Earth. We show up. We spent, I don't know how long this really sparked when at 9/11. We were there at the very beginning.
Yeah.
We were the last ones to leave.
Yeah. So this is a lie. First of all right. I'm going to see if I can bring this up here. List of emergency and first responders. Let me see. Let me just look and see if there was any mention of Scientology volunteer. No mention of Scientology volunteer ministers, who are the, according to him, largest first responder force on Earth. Doesn't even show up that they were there. So there's a lie right there.
And we actually, with our purification program, we handled all of the firemen, all the first responders who were there through our program.
That's a lie. There were there's statistics on this. Like this is like such, I literally just typed in purification program and like 9/11. New York Rescue Workers Detoxification Project. So I'll just throw out a couple stats. Now, this is going to piss people off, because from 2003 to 2007, Downtown Medical, so that's the company that was formed to give all these firefighters the purification rundown. It's a Scientology company. They got $900,000 in public funding, US dollars, of course, in 4 years, including $630,000 from the city of New York. That's not including up to $2.3 million by late 2004 from celebrities like Paul Newman, Paul McCartney, Adam Sandler, Leah Remini, who's obviously out now, Will Smith, and Jada Pinkett Smith, who were briefly involved in Scientology. This is all public funds, and they put out, I think it was 700. Trying to find the exact stat here. Between those years, 838 people completed the program. According to statistics, I believe there was, I can't find the exact stat, but there's about 5,000 to 7,000 first responders who, like helped out at 9/11 during those years. So pure lie, right? But this is what they're told. He believes this is true. Yeah, I don't even know what else to say about that. The amount of public funding that was given to help this, like that was millions of dollars to help 838 people not solve their problems, basically. I don't know about you guys, but that makes me really angry.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Yeah. Honestly, it's absolutely ridiculous.
If you're American, with a teaser that more from this channel will be coming soon, if you're American, get ready to contact your state representative and other governing officials to say that this is not okay, and that this agent or this organization should not have tax-free status in the U.S.
Yeah. Like this guy, this was what, a week ago that I did this? I spoke with this person, and he is still telling people that They helped at 9/11. They help at all these other massive disaster zones and so forth. And they're receiving public funding for this, right? And the whole point of it is just to recruit people into Scientology. That's the only reason.
And they're photo ops. That's pretty much what they do.
Yeah.
They make sure that they get the photo ops.
I mean, that's not to say that some of the Scientologists don't want to help. Like,
Right.
I would never say that, because that's not true. They think they're helping, but Scientology as an entity is doing this to recruit, to get money. I mean, I know that the doctor who was in charge of this program at the clinic was a Scientologist, and I think he got paid, if I remember correctly, about $180,000 over those 4 years to like run this program and oversee it and so forth. And that's public money. That's not donated money. This is public money given to him to deliver a program that has been deemed dangerous, and at the very, very most generous, not workable and not effective, right?
It's a terrible program. It really.
Do you have a 20-second overview of what the program is if people don't know what it is?
Yeah, for sure. So like, you sit in a sauna for 5 hours a day, usually 4 to 5 hours. You take a crap ton of vitamins, including a ton of niacin, which Gabe, you can touch on in a second here, because I know you want to. And you do this for usually 3 to 4 weeks is generally how long I think it's supposed to take.
Yeah.
And what it says is it detoxifies your body. It removes toxins. And one of the claims with specifically with the first responders is that their towels were turning purple because they're sitting in the sauna sweating, and the sweat coming out of them was purple, and it was staining the towels. And there's been no corroborative evidence of this, and there's no reason why it would. So, Gabe, do you want to talk about niacin?
Yeah, niacin at even lower doses, like what they put in the cereals. I think Natalie covered this. There was an article. Actually, my husband even saw it. They're trying to get niacin taken out of cereals because it causes heart issues. It's really, really bad for you at levels even like fortified cereals. In the Purif, you cannot finish until you're at, I believe it's about 4,000 or 5,000 milligrams of niacin. Like, the uncomfortableness, just like taking a little bit of niacin. I don't know if anybody's ever taken it. It's like it's horrible. It's like pins and needles and red flushing. And I got very violently ill the 2 times that I did the Purif. Like, it was really, I was like bedridden. It was so bad. And so it's a very dangerous program. And it's not, I mean, they make you go to a doctor to get approval for it, but any doctor will you're also coached on telling them what you're doing.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm just doing like a detox program. Right?
Yeah. So
Anyways, it's
the
horrible.
recommended dietary allowance, which is basically the max amount you're supposed to be taking of niacin in a day, is 16 milligrams, or 14 for women. So 16 for men, 14 for women. At doses higher than 500 milligrams per day, it can cause diarrhea, easy bruising, and increased bleeding from wounds. And higher than 3,000, which you definitely do in the Purif for a long period of time, is nausea, vomiting, and liver damage.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, just to, not that I'm saying it's causational, but just to mention that my mom, who recently passed away due to, initially was liver cancer, but also some heart failure and so forth. She was a huge proponent in all the vitamins and niacin and so forth. And her cancer, of course, was liver cancer.
Yeah.
Not saying it caused it.
Right.
But I'm just saying, like, there could be a connection there, because she took it from, I guess, the age of like mid 20s up until when she passed away in her 60s. So
yeah. I'll just an interesting fact. When I was younger, it was after the Purif, and I went to a naturopath who tested my liver. I was in I got into Scientology in my early 20s, so I was maybe around 26 when I went to this naturopath, and they did a test on my all sorts of tests, right? And he asked me if I was an alcoholic because I had such a fatty liver. And I was like really skinny and stuff like that. So, I often wonder, is that something that occurred as a result of that? Because like I said, I mean, you're taking like gobs of like handfuls of vitamins daily. I mean, I had to split them up because of my stomach issues, and I had ulcers. So, I mean, if anybody has any sort of digestive issues or anything like that, it's really hard on your tummy. Anyways,
Two things. Okay, so Alex Calmag.
I like CalMag.
Oh my goodness.
Not
Okay,
that way.
well,
I
CalMag's disgusting. No, but like the LRH
yeah.
CalMag recipe is disgusting. I was just thinking to myself, I did the Purif when I was 15. Right?
Right, because you had so many toxins in your body at 15.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. I had never done a drug at that point. I mean,
right.
I lived a fairly clean life except for all the candy I would eat. But
Yeah, and I saw so many kids being put through that Purif too, young kids. Like, what the hell?
Can you imagine? I mean, even nowadays, I can't fathom it. Like a kid sitting in a sauna for 5 hours.
It's
Like,
not good.
it's insane.
Yeah.
Well, every sauna has a warning outside of it telling you 15 minutes max.
Yeah.
I do have to ask a question because a few people have mentioned oil in conjunction with the Purif, and I don't know this reference. Tell me about the oil as part of the Purif.
You have to drink oil as well, just straight oil and lecithin.
Yeah, the oil is supposed to help replenish your body with good oils. Yeah. Because you're sweating so much. The idea is because you're sweating, you're depleting your body of all this stuff. I mean, and you have diarrhea. I'm sorry. Diarrhea is like so common. You know, if it's not the niacin causing it, it's the vitamins or it's the calcium magnesium drink. It's like torture being on this thing. Sorry.
What about salt, Gabe? Yeah, you do. Do you take salt?
You take salt if you're not sweating.
You take
potassium.
Salt tablets.
Yeah.
Well, I used to take you know those ones that kind of melt in your mouth?
Yeah, the cell salts.
Cell salts. That's what you take. So you don't take like table salt, but it's cell salts. And Danny is asking what kind of oil.
It's a blend. It's it's a cold press blend of oils.
Yeah. It's not a lot. It's like
it's
tablespoon
like
or something like that.
Yeah.
And then I used to put the lecithin in the oil to drink it. You just kind of mix it in there. It's all mumbo jumbo, folks.
It is.
Don't do it.
And it's like you're on it for almost a month every single day. Like I remember I was on it during Christmas and I couldn't even have a drink. That really sucked.
Oh.
It's not fish oil. No, I don't think. No,
it's not fish oil.
Anyway,
well, maybe we'll figure it out. It doesn't matter. It's oil, and it's unnecessary. Alex says that it's olive oil, vegetable oil, or something, if I remember correctly. I actually don't know if it has to be a specific oil or not, but
yes, it was. I remember having to find the stupid bottle of a blended oil, and it had to be cold pressed. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
You know how they are.
It's all very specific.
Yes,
bullshit.
very specific. All very specific bullshit.
Yeah. Not just any bullshit. This is specific bullshit.
It's standard. It's standard Scientology bullshit.
Yeah. Okay.
And cleaned out all the toxins from being around 9/11.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
cool.
Anything else exciting happened at that? So at this point, I'm trying to get him to mention that maybe there were some protesters, but he doesn't take it up. Gathering there?
Oh, this is all the things that happen in the course of a year.
Mm-hmm.
over the past few years, we didn't. Everybody else went to sleep. We didn't. We basically put together.
This is propaganda put out by Dave Miscavage, saying that the pandemic was planetary bull bait, quote unquote, and everybody just fell asleep and was controlled and blah blah blah. So this is huge. Again, it's
That's
just
almost a direct quote from the IAS speech.
oh yeah. Well, I know.
Yeah.
That's the term was planetary bull bait.
No, the everyone else went to sleep.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that's because that's all he's doing is he's just spewing out. He's just regurgitating the words that are put into his head, right? Like there's no thought process here. This is just him saying stuff like that, and he's proud of it, you know. So it's troublesome.
There's a comment here from Blow Drill. He was 8 years old.
Taking what?
I think it was when you did the Purif.
Oh wow.
Yeah, my
Ugh.
first Purif was he was 15 as well.
Wow. Yeah. And I do see that the comment from Lorna about
This is devastating.
yeah, I know. I mean, I didn't even know about this. This is disgusting. So
Yeah.
I am really sorry for that, Lorna. I didn't know. But it's a brutal program and it should not be used. It literally kills people, right? Like, but they tout it as the greatest thing. And it's the first step on every single journey up the bridge to total freedom, quote unquote.
Oh, one very quick comment. The Purif that people are doing now is revised. The original one was called the Sweat Program, where you would wrap yourself in garbage bags. Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Oh,
My husband will attest to that.
That I did not know. It's like
Because they
those
go to our saunas.
it's like those exercise suits where you can lose extra weight, and it's just like basically a garbage bag, a garbage bag onesie,
or neoprene shorts to lose weight in targeted areas. I'll admit, I got a heat rash.
Oh no! Recently? No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, dear.
Oh man! Just want to say hello, Dylan. Welcome to my chat. Thank you for showing up. If anyone doesn't know Dylan Blow Drill, he's got an amazing channel. He's a lovely person, and it's nice to see him.
He is amazing.
Yeah. Cool. Let's continue with the lies.
A team of people, volunteer ministers, that went around and cleaned all of the buildings. We fogged them, we disinfect them. We were busy.
So I'm sitting here thinking to myself, because I know all this, right? Like this is not new to me. He doesn't know this, but I know that he is just regurgitating stuff. So I start calling him out on his, asking if he did it himself, right? And of course, his answers are exactly what I expected. At your buildings?
Our buildings and public buildings.
Oh, what public buildings?
I don't know. We didn't do too many here in Seattle, but in other places, other locations.
So you didn't do it yourself?
I didn't. Well, I was a part of the team, but I was also part of the team that put booklets out about how to take care of yourself.
Oh, I see. Like wash your hands kind of thing?
Yeah, wash your hands, practical things for people to do.
Basic stuff. Basic stuff that the government was telling people to do. Like,
Wow.
I'm sorry, but there's nothing revolutionary about what he's saying, right? But I knew that he didn't do anything. I knew all he did was put up booklets because that's all anybody did. The fogging and disinfecting that they're talking about, I forget the exact name of it, and perhaps someone in the chat will know, but it's a chemical used to disinfect large surfaces, but it's dangerous if you're constantly using it. Like it's not good that they're doing this, right?
And they're inhaling it.
Yeah. Well, I think they went around like full respirators and stuff like that. Like they were in they were in full hazmat suits because it's not Lysol. It's it's got some weird name. I don't remember it, but he's very proud of it. But he didn't do any of it himself. He just handed out booklets. And I would love to know that's the thing about this whole conversation is he doesn't say anything specific.
Right.
Like he can't name buildings. He can't name what public building they went to.
Like, Jeff,
Just,
don't you think he's speaking
here we
in broad
go.
generalities?
Yeah, absolutely. Decon 7, that's what it's called.
There it is.
And it's like, it's been proven to be like dangerous in like constant quantities. You're not supposed to expose yourself to this stuff all the time. So I'm sitting here thinking to myself, what an idiot. Like this guy, and it's really hard to keep a straight face when you're talking to these people. It really is, right? Because I know I can see through all this shit. So anyway.
Yeah. So this is one of the things we do. We just.
Were you at the desk?
I was at the desk.
I was going to say that. I don't recognize the jacket.
Yeah.
How long have you been in Scientology? 50 years.
Yeah, 50 years. 50 years on post.
And you?
This is 8 years on post for me.
Okay. And in Scientology?
In Scientology, I've been in Scientology about 10 years.
10 years. Okay. What got you in? Because he said it was. So this is interesting. I don't know if I'm going to do the whole conversation, but this guy is a complete cult hopper. And I don't know, and I'm going to make one comment about this too. So he's been in for 10 years. Just prior to this, he's talking about 9/11, which happened, 2001, which was 23 years ago. So he was at least a decade. It's been at least a decade from 9/11 since like when he joined Scientology or even was introduced to it. So how does he know all this stuff? Like, why is he talking about this stuff like he did it? Yeah. I just think it's weird. I don't know if I want to go into this whole guy's story. We're already an hour and 11 in. So
yeah.
But he's basically just talking about going from the emissaries to Unity Church, and then he found Scientology. The interesting thing about this guy, though, is his wife lives in Clearwater, Florida. So clearly he's connected with Flag somehow. And I feel like he's probably fairly high up the bridge. But he runs the Seattle org. So he commutes back and forth kind of thing, like once or twice a month.
As a deputy director.
Yeah,
as
deputy director. Running reception.
So do they even have an executive director would be my question.
That's a good question. Why wasn't the executive director at reception?
There's just so many red flags anyways.
Yeah. So this was a really interesting visit. It gave me a really good look into what is truly going on in Scientology right now. Yeah.
Or not, you mean? What is not?
Oh yeah, not exactly. While we're just having a quick break from topics here, I'm going to bring up Windy City Thetan Watch, which is a great name. Obviously from Chicago. So the new Chicago Ideal Org is opening Sunday, March 4th in Chicago's Printer Row, 650 South Clark Street. Anybody watching in that area, please go protest. Go make your voices heard. March 3rd, which is next week? Not next week, 2 weeks from now?
Yeah, something like that.
Oh, no, it is next weekend.
Is it?
Yeah.
Ooh.
There you go. So make sure you guys go out there, because honestly, they hate that all this attention is being brought to them in this light. So, yeah. Would you guys like to bring up some comments, questions, etc.?
Just a quick side note. If you look behind me, you see that picture behind me?
I do.
Those are the Twin Towers. Just because we were talking about 9/11. I got it well before that. Isn't that cool? From IKEA a long, long time ago. Anyways.
How fitting.
I love
fitting.
that picture.
Okay. Rainy Day Jane, just want to thank you very much for your super sticker.
Ooh.
Much appreciated. If you guys want to support either Gabe's or my channel, it is much appreciated. We do put a lot of work into things, and we don't have large channels that make a bunch of ad revenue. I think I'm
not even monetized.
I think we kind of what's that?
I'm not even monetized.
Yes, you're still working on getting enough watch hours. Well, you need to go live more often, Gabe.
I know.
I've told you this 10 times already, at least. But yeah, it is really much appreciated. And I do put a lot of work into my channel. I mean, just editing videos and so forth takes a lot of time. And I do not make a lot of money in ad revenue. So please, if you can, support me. Links in my description. Pippi Longstockings. discussing. Yeah, the first guy I was talking to says he was probably lonely and wanted someone to talk to.
That's the
Most
impression
likely.
I totally got. It was my first thing that I thought of. He's lonely.
Yeah.
Poor guy.
Well, yeah, and I guess you know what we didn't bring up. Let's go over this really quickly because we did not bring this up. I'm gonna show. Boo, boo, boo. So what they're supposed to do in the ideal orgs now is what they have this public information center, and this is a pamphlet that they gave me, and basically this is discussing all the panels that they have with all the different aspects of Scientology. There's actually like a suggested sequence, as you
Mhm.
can see here. So you're supposed to go to like A, which is a panel, and find out, and if you have a certain question, you go to the panels in this order. But then if you want to know about church-sponsored humanitarian, God, I can't even talk,
Initiative.
initiatives, then you begin with sequence A above here,
Oh.
and then you go to different ones. But it's like, it's so weird. And then attached to this is actually a map. So this is their org, specifically. So this is the entranceway, and I didn't even realize there was a film room back there, but apparently there is. This here is an absolute misrepresentation of how many chairs would fit in this space.
Yeah.
Because the picture that I took, there was 24 chairs, and that was like a third of the room. And then of course here we go. We have all the panels here. So this is a map.
And
It's all
these
labeled out.
panels are very, very significant when the whole Ideal Org project was founded by Mr. Miscavage, the little Davy from the Space Navy.
Captain Davy of the fake Space Navy.
It was like this was the answer to all of Scientology's problems. You know, these information boards, all you had to do was walk somebody through it and bang, they were going to be a Scientologist. It was going to be like easy breezy, lemon squeezy, right?
Yeah.
That's what these things were designed for. Division 6 also was supposed to be the biggest area of the organization. So these ideal orgs will have massive public areas. One, because they're just huge. Div 6 is just a huge division, right? But I think Miscavige was actually trying to sort of make it idiot proof to get people into the orgs and get them whatever recruited, get them onto service. That's how this was all supposed to play out. So when you look, well, I mean, you even had a hard time trying to maneuver through one of those things. It was all so very complicated when you tried to turn one on.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't working. Apparently I had to like push and hold the button to make it play
Right.
or whatever, but
Right.
I wasn't sad that it wasn't working. Let's just say that.
No, but like this was supposed to be the brainchild, right? This was supposed to be the thing that was supposed to like help bring all these people in. And it's like, seriously, you could see tumbleweeds going through the hallways in that org. It was so ridiculous. And that's how they all are now. It's amazing. It's just,
Yep.
for me, from being in, and I tell you, I was so excited with the ideal orgs. It was like this was going to be it. You know, this was like so many staff. That's what that sort of held them in those class 5 orgs, because it was really freaking hard to be on staff at 7 days a week, not get paid diddly squat, have a full-time job, try and have a family life, etc., etc. So anyways, that's my 2 bits about this ideal org.
Yeah, for sure. And Lorna, quickly, just to answer your question, there were 4 staff that I saw. It's
Unreal.
not to say there wasn't more in other areas. I was only in the public division.
Yeah.
But yeah, 4 staff, and I was the DED, director of registration, some guy who cuts the trees outside, and then a guy who was cleaning the org, because I'm sure the org needs to be cleaned constantly, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, the point of this is so that you don't have to talk to people. You just plunk them in front of a screen, you give them this map, and apparently at the end of this, go to number 12 and you just cognite. Scientology is for me, right? It just doesn't work. I mean, first of all, you have to have people come into the org for anything to work. But when I was on staff, if a new public came in, like, we talked to them a lot. Like, we answered their questions, right? But I guess that's different now. So all I wanted to say with that, Andrea, you've been awfully silent this day.
And I'm getting darker and darker and darker. I apologize. I have no front light in this new setup.
Oh no.
We're working on it. Usually you sit next to me, but it's super awkward, and you're sitting on an exercise ball, and it's kind of awkward. So we'll get things worked out. Sharon Serendipity, my friendliness tricked the man to jabber. Yes. I am a conversationalist. I'm very good at talking with people, and I will literally go up to anybody and start talking to them. So I don't think he saw that coming. Andrea, would you like to control the questions coming up and maybe read them for us?
Sure, I can do that. I think is there one more super sticker to show? Did we do Suppressive Squirrel super sticker?
Not yet, but thank you very much, Suppressive Squirrel. Again, I just love that name. Just love it.
All right, so this is a comment that Ideal Orgs mean there's no one there. At the Austin Ideal Org grand opening as shown by Pearl Snappy, it was pitiful, and good work to Pearl Snappy for being out there and showing the world that.
Yeah, that was amazing. And they have officially uploaded all the pictures from the opening event yesterday onto their Scientology website. So maybe if someone with a keen eye wants to take a look and see if there's any protesters in the background, that'd be hilarious. Much like happened at the Qual building opening at St. Hill. You can see our protest signs in the background in one of the pictures. It's pretty funny.
So question for both of you. How hard is it not to lapse into Scientology talk? Especially when you're talking to another Scientologist who is in, like you were at the org.
Well,
go ahead.
I'll quickly answer that just very quickly. Specifically in this visit to the org, it was difficult not to slip into it. And I did get caught saying a couple of non-normal person words, like handle something in regards to an issue they're having, and saying the word post, asking how long they were on post, etc. But it is pretty difficult. It's not too bad, no. What about you, Gabe?
Yes, it's easy to slip back into it. Mm-hmm. My husband is also an ex-Scientologist, so there's times where it just flies. It just happens. And to be truthful, sometimes there are words that I cannot think of in the English language, and there's a Scientology word that just nails it.
I mean, Dev T is a great one.
Yeah, there's some stuff. I mean, whatever, it is what it is, right? I consciously try not to speak at times where I'm, where it's like, okay, I need to get my thought across. And I did more of, not practice, but I put more attention on it, more so in the early years. After I got out of the independent area, independent Scientology field. But it's still comfortable when you're talking to another Scientologist, because you can communicate concepts to each other so much better sometimes. I don't exactly know. It's like when you're with any sort of group, like any sort of group, like crafters group or whatever, you talk the lingo, and the rapport the relationships is a little stronger, or it just makes it a lot easier to communicate sometimes. That's all.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
And I would say we have Scientologies talk between us now,
Hmm.
even though I was never a Scientologist.
Yeah. You've come
Yeah.
a long way, Andrea.
And a lot of times it's funny. It's just funny to say stuff in Scientologies.
Yeah. Especially body thetans.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Pew, gotta flick them off you.
So from Psych, it's Tara, first-time viewer of the channel. Glad to be here. This live is one of the most informative they've seen in the last year. It often boggles my
Oh,
mind
wow.
that they think what they're saying sounds normal.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you very much. Yeah, like the point of my channel is to be informative and expositive of what they're doing. So
It's so important to understand the mindset. It's really hard to communicate, but when you hear somebody talking like that, you get the full flavor of that cult mentality. It's just such an interesting thing, isn't it?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So the scrapbooker, I was surprised that he didn't try and get you to do a personality test, or he knew you couldn't do one because your shtick was that you were going to meet somebody right around the
Mhm.
corner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Personality tests take a
It is
while.
interesting. It is interesting. Yeah, they do take a while. I mean, you're in there for an hour for sure. If
Yeah.
you consider doing the test, which is about 20 minutes to half an hour, and then doing the evaluation at the end of it.
Takes a long time. I've done them.
Yep, for sure. And they don't want you to do them. They don't want you to take it away and do them.
Mm.
Like it used to be that they used to be pink in Vancouver. I don't know if they are now, but
I remember that.
yeah, they were on pink legal size paper,
Yeah.
tri-folded. And we would just let people take them away and do them if they wanted to. But preferably they do them there because if they go away, they're not going to come back. Like why would you, right? But they want to make sure that they get in front of you so you can do the ruin finding and destroy their morale and sell them on Scientology.
Yeah. I mean, there's 200 questions. That takes a little while, right?
Yeah, and they're not like hard questions, but
No.
you know.
A logisticsy type question from Michael Andreas. Do public Scientologists belong to one of the two orgs in the building?
Yeah, in a manner of speaking,
Oh, yeah.
like generally speaking, like my dad, for example, is a day public. So
Mhm.
he's a day, like he goes to course on day. He generally wouldn't go to course on foundation schedule ever. Events, however, are almost always on foundation schedules, which I always found was unfair. It's a lot of work.
Yeah. And you never liked it when they would cross over. Like when they go from one to the other, because then you'd
Yeah.
lose the stat. The org that had them would lose the stat, and that would really
Yeah.
piss people off.
And
There's
that's a weird thing too. Like money, right? Like if
Mm.
someone paid day org money, yes, it's the org's money, but the statistic, they could like, I think they could do the course on foundation though, right? Like if
Mhm.
they
They would
paid,
do shit like that. It would
yeah,
piss people off, though.
it would, yeah, it'd be like, cause it's a competition,
Yeah.
right? So
And they are definitely two separate organizations. So one has, I mean, the bills and stuff get kind of split up more or less, but
mhm.
and the thing is, if like in our org, foundation had more technical staff, so you'd get a public that came in and they could only do the service during the day. That would sort of mess things up, and there was always feuds about that. It was just so silly.
Yeah, it's dumb. But yes,
I'm going to carry on. There's another one from Michael Andreas. As a skeptic, I would ask whether there were any independently written papers about the efficacy of Dianetics.
Mm.
How do you think they would respond?
I mean, they would just deny it.
When you get combative, and I've had to deal with public who are very skeptical and come in and do stuff like that, you pretty much brush them off.
Yeah.
You get rid of them. You don't take it up. You don't sit there and debate stuff. And it's actually policy. You don't argue about Scientology. So yeah. I mean, you
And if
pretty
they,
much close the door on them.
yeah, and if they pushed it, you would start investigating them because clearly they're a suppressive person and are trying to destroy Scientology, so they would start attacking them. Right? It's just policy.
Good comment from Solo Dave. Why does a religion need to fight? This isn't the Crusades. Which
Right.
all I can think of is nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition.
Yeah.
Random most breath on
Yeah,
China.
that was funny because that guy was saying, it's like, well, he was talking about the IS, that they have to fight the battles. It's like,
Yeah.
why does a church have to fight battles? It
Yeah.
it doesn't make sense. I mean, who fights the Catholic Church? Why
Yeah.
does this church have so many enemies? Gee, I wonder.
One of my favorite parts of this interaction with the first guy too is when the first guy goes, "We in the pharmaceutical industry have a relationship." I'm like, "Oh, you work together?" Knowing full well what he was trying to say, but I thought it was funny. He was like, no, no."
Well, and I think this comment brings me back to a comment in a previous chat that we made a short out of. And I'm sorry, I can't remember who to give credit to. But religions and churches also don't need to take roll call.
Yeah, exactly.
There are so many things that are different about this religion than about other religions.
Right.
Yeah, and you don't get in trouble if you don't show up to volunteer at other religions, right? Like that's
right.
the thing.
Yeah.
You sign a religious volunteer contract, but you're under obligation, so it's not volunteer.
Yeah.
Right? It's pure lies.
I'm going to show this one just because it's fun. Thanks, Pam Abernathy, for clusters. Body Titans or peanut, only you can choose.
I'm gonna
Love
go with
it.
peanut. Yeah, with a little bit of nougat.
I was just thinking the same thing.
Question from Mountaintops.
Oh.
What year did you get out, Gabe?
Well, I was, I would say 2014.
Yeah, well,
Officially.
in your mind,
In my mind, probably 20. Yeah.
You left Scientology proper in what, 2012, right?
13.
13. Okay, and then you did a little bit of stuff on the side because you were still kind of a believer, and then you left, your mind left it in 2014, correct?
2014, yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Good for you. Well done. You get a commendation.
Yay.
From Martha, a comment. They are an ex-JW, and remember at a point in about 1990 that they could no longer ask for money for books because a tax-exempt board could not ask for money for books, and they always thought that no tax-exempt organization could.
That's a good question.
That's
I
interesting.
think maybe because it's a donation towards a service. Is that the Scientology thought?
Well, it's a good question though, like because like books have a set price, right? You only get a discount on books if you're buying it at the time of the service, I believe, like a course pack or so forth. I think, or bundles, like if you buy all of the congresses, which are the basic
Package.
Lectures,
Yeah.
you get a package price. But if you buy them individually, they're like stupid expensive. So yeah, I don't know how to answer that, but it's a good comment.
A pure comment from Psych, it's Tara. Are the doses of niacin different for children, elderly, disabled, or anyone who has any
No.
sort of physical difficulty?
No. They're ooh, that's right, Raz. they're every day you get a sheet that tells you how much you're supposed to take from the case supervisor who sort of runs you on the program, and it's incrementally increased so you keep getting the reaction, and they so it's no different it's the same for everybody, just like sec checking, just like punishment, ethics conditions, declares, there's no differentiation.
Yeah. Children, anybody is just a Thetan in a body.
Yeah.
So.
Comment from Ted S. Jeff, we don't know each other, but you do have a large group of people out here who are doing nothing but cheering you on and wishing you the best of luck with your family situation. Much love from an Everin.
Oh,
buddy.
that's so
Yeah,
sweet.
no, it's great. I do have some pretty amazing supportive. I don't want to say subscribers, but fans, friends. We may not know each other, but you guys know a lot about me, and I consider us friends.
And Pam talking about watching your sneaky video. I kept getting alternatively very anxious, angry, and sad throughout the entire original video. You're a hero, courage.
Oh,
You know, it's funny. I don't feel like I have much that it required much courage. I just went in and just started talking to people. Anybody can do it. Um, I think I was a little bit like anxious about the fact that I had a GoPro hanging off my backpack, but whatever.
oh, they didn't notice.
Yeah. Well, they did
Lorna
notice.
says this was a great video. Do you plan on doing another similar secret trip in the near future?
I'll never tell.
Then it wouldn't be secret.
Don't worry. There's more. There's more. And I have a really exciting announcement happening this week as well for all Canadians to join the fight. So please stay tuned.
A comment from Peter Anderson that I didn't know. 2 letters from first responders were submitted as character letters for convicted criminal Danny Masterson.
Well, there you go. You know, there were some people there in the articles I was reading that did join Scientology as a result of the program, so it was successful in Scientology's eyes. So I'm not surprised that they got some opinion leaders, which is what they'll call the first responders, or anybody who is well liked in the community, that they got them to submit letters. That was all Scientology is doing.
Question from Celeste Commodore. How does the Church of Scientology get around minimum wage and labor laws?
Good
Good question.
So in the States, it has tax exemption religious status. So that's how they do it there. They're religious workers. They don't have to pay them. But in Canada, that is not the case. And in fact, legally, you are not allowed to sign away your right to get minimum wage. It's not legally allowed, so you cannot do it as a person. So if anybody is recently out of a Church of Scientology, I think it's 2 years is the statute of limitations. If you left staff within that period, you should contact a labor board in your province and let them know and complain and get that money back because they owe you money.
Yeah, you need to also pay tax on that too. In Quebec, there was a case, and they won. I don't know if they have these cases and they say, okay, well, the Church of Scientology was ordered to pay X amount of money back to some of these staff members. I mean, it doesn't say if the staff members are past staff members. I would imagine, I can't see why they would be staff members that would be still on staff trying to sue the church. That wouldn't make much sense. But it's definitely something that could be investigated should one want to take on that project.
Yeah, and if you're on staff right now or know someone who's on staff right now, let them know. Because if they're thinking about leaving, I tell you what, the Church Scientology of whatever province they're in does not want to pay them their money that they're owed.
Yeah, and it's not recognized as a religion here either. So I think there's even more of a case for it.
To be fair though, like in Canada, religions aren't recognized in the same way as in the States.
Right.
Like, so yeah, they can't. Anybody
But
can.
they don't have charitable status.
Right. They've tried
that's the
twice
key thing.
and got turned down.
Yeah.
So that's not even an option that the church has in Canada.
Yeah.
I'm going to maybe ask and answer this with some vague terms. So Ted S. is wondering if the Minnesotans get to join the Canadians. And I think this refers to the announcement that's coming up this week. If you
Absolutely.
live close to the U.S.-Canadian border, you'll have to wait to hear where on the east-west spectrum we are. But if you are close to the border, you may also be interested in tuning in.
This is going to be the biggest thing that's happened in Canada ever for anti-Scientology. So, but it relies upon you guys. So stay tuned. I will be making an announcement later this week.
From Sharon Serendipity, do either of you think Davy really believes the nonsense he slings?
You know what? I don't
Speculate.
know. Yeah, I don't know the guy. I think
That's
that
kind of-
he is a friggin' nut job. So maybe who knows? And honestly, who cares? Because the fact is, he's the one that is abusing people and running the show. So whether he believes or not, it doesn't matter. He's slinging the abuse.
Yeah. I have a theory that, I mean, he's second generation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
yes.
Mhm.
yeah.
He wasn't born into it. He was brought into it at
That's
a young
true
age.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So
yeah, he was very young.
he is somebody who was raised within the manipulative, violating system of Scientology that just seems to have butted up against the right personality type and character flaws to turn him into what he is. So, in some ways, the perfect storm to create a dictatorial leader.
Exactly. I honestly think, and I've heard this idea thrown around a few times, is the Scientology actually creates narcissists.
Mhm.
It does have to have the perfect elements there and a personality and stuff, but there are, in my opinion, a lot of people who get to the top who have become narcissistic. I saw the traits in myself. When I look back, I can see it. So it's I can see how somebody like that would become such an evil dictator that he is.
Yeah.
It parallels thoughts of like epigenetics and things where genes may not express themselves unless they're in the right outside environment.
Right.
That this does create a perfect breeding ground if you have leanings one way to exacerbate them.
Yeah. I
It
mean,
nourishes them.
sorry.
It nourishes them.
Yeah, my background, my family background was abusive. My father was abusive when he was younger. He was also abused. And there was also a lot of authoritarian type of behavior in my family. My nephew's in the military. That's very authoritarian. There's just this genetic sort of leaning towards that kind of thing.
Yeah.
My other nephew is in the RCMP.
Yep.
And he's an asshole apparently. Oh well. He's not. He's disconnected. Like this is a whole other family dynamic. But it shows how how Scientology can create these kind of in personalities within even a family that has that tendency to be authoritarian and stuff. I mean, it's something I've had to actually look at for myself as I've unraveled all of this stuff. It's like, did Scientology actually create this stuff in me? Was there other things in my past that also contributed to that? Yeah, definitely there was, right?
Mhm.
Anyways.
So, question from the scrapbooker. We're bouncing all over the place for topics.
I know, sorry.
The topic is now no topic. Who at the Church of Scientology fills out the immigration paperwork for people coming in to work for them? And I believe there's been some answering going on in the chat, but I haven't stayed on top of it. So if either of you know the answer, otherwise we can redirect people to answers in the chat.
Immigration paperwork, like people coming from another country to work in the church, I don't know. If you're referring to like when staff are going down to, let's say, Flag for training, it's a combination of the HCO, so the ethics and justice area, and also the Department of Special Affairs. They have a legal department in the Department of Special Affairs, a little area there where they deal with all the legal paperwork stuff. So that's where that would come from. They would like write the letter so you could get like a R1 visa and stuff like that.
Yeah. When I was 14 and joined the Sea Org, I was coached what to say to the immigration officials as I was crossing, because I was being flown down to Los Angeles, which, Canada, and LA, different countries. And so I had to know exactly what to say, and I was coached and drilled on what to say over and over again. So I said it perfectly.
Yes,
And that's the
especially if
same.
you're young.
Yeah, and it's interesting. There's a gentleman. I shouldn't say gentleman. There's a Sea Org member who we ran into in the UK who's American, and he's PAC security, or he's security at Pacific Area Command in
The
Big
Big
Blue in
Blue
Los
building.
Angeles.
Yeah.
And he was in the UK working for the church, and he was also at the Austin Ideal Org event, as far as I know. So he's flown around quite often. His name is Simon, I believe, Simon Siegel. Not Steven Seagal, that'd be hilarious, but Simon Siegel. And he is a Delphi kid, so he has been involved in Scientology his entire life. And he's in the Sea Org, probably joined as a teenager, and he is constantly flown around to big events, including overseas. And so I'm sure that they lie quite a bit on his immigration stuff. And Alex definitely is looking into a lot of immigration stuff with in regards to the UK, because they lie.
Mm-hmm.
All right, a question from One Love 51,000. Did you hear anything about them finding out that you were indeed not an interested person? I'm surprised they didn't catch on. Will they be in trouble for the way they talked?
Interesting. So no. So when I originally was talking to, when I entered, I said, "Hey, I saw the Super Bowl ad." I didn't mention that we also have our own version of it that Andrea created, but and I was interested in what Scientology was, and I like the slogan "Decide for yourself," which is their slogan, spoke to me, is what I said. And so I'm surprised that they took it up. They should just put me onto the screens, but I think they were so bored that they just decided to have someone talk to me. I'm actually curious, like, whether I would have even stayed if they just threw me onto machines to learn. I probably would have left, because I was looking to have that interaction. I wasn't looking to sit in front of a screen. I don't think they caught on to me. However, I think that after the first conversation with the gentleman, and then he put me on the screen, and then all of a sudden the second gentleman came and talked to me, I think the other guy was like, I shouldn't be talking to this guy. I better go back, because I'm making a fool of myself talking about conspiracy theories and so forth. So they realized they were messing up, and that's why they kind of switched tactics.
All right, and I think we'll wrap up here with this comment from Celeste Commodore, in part because I know the dog's behind me and we'll probably need to go out, and we're edging on to 2 hours now. So a rally of support. If you ever come to Cambridge Org, I'm going to try my hardest to make it there. Gabrielle, you remind me of my auntie. And I think this just kind of sums up a lot of the comments that we didn't display. Sorry if we didn't get your comment up on the screen. But we do see the support, and we're glad you can connect with each other in the chat. It's really wonderful to have you all up there.
I do plan, just a quick comment. Yes, I'm planning Cambridge. It would be better to actually be there with more than one person. If you've seen what Cambridge looks like, it's very isolated and fenced in kind of thing. It's not like you can stand at a front door. I guess you could Google it and see, but yeah, I'm thinking of doing something. I haven't quite put the plan together yet. I'm about an hour from Cambridge.
Yeah. Stay tuned, guys. Big things are happening for sure. I would like to say thank you to everyone in the chat, everyone on the replay crew. Thank you to Andrea for helping out with her never-in perspective, her constant support, and also bringing up the questions for us.
Thank
and of course,
you.
Gabe, my amazing friend, in Ontario of all places. Yeah, you guys are awesome. Everyone in the chat's awesome. I'm going to have 2 little outros here, because I want to make sure everyone watches this video of the Portland Cowboy, because it's so gosh darn fun. If you guys want to support either of our channels, Gabe's or mine, We do have links in our respective descriptions of our videos. Your support is appreciated and needed so we can continue to do our fun stuff. With that, here's the cowboy.
Who doggy?
Nola, how's it going?
Fuck's sake.
For fuck's sake, she says. What's your post?
Well, what are you doing?
I'm not on staff, that's for sure.
You're definitely filming something.
Anyway, I gotta go because I'm gonna get in shit if I keep talking to you. You know that.
But doesn't that kind of bother you a little bit? That you get in shit for communicating with somebody?